The Redondo Beach Center for Spiritual Living and the Ministry of Dr. Moira Foxe presents Living Ideas.
Okay then, welcome. Here we are on this bright, beautiful day. It's a good day. It's a good day. Every day is a good day for me. I just love it. Every single day. I am so grateful that I woke up, regardless of what's before me. Another day to serve, another day to make a difference, another day to put a smile on someone's face. It would be nice if we thought of that every single morning, wouldn't it? But it doesn't happen, does it? Without practice. Without practice. It does with practice. So, today you might think the topic is, what do you think the topic is today? Well, some of us know what's written in the book, but that's not what the topic is. For those of you who were here the first Sunday I came back and were paying attention, I gave that talk that Sunday. Today's topic is everything passes. Everything passes. Remember now, we're in the flow of life. This is our topic at the moment, general topic, forever and a day. We're in the flow of life and life flows. So it reminds us that we're always in a state of flux because life is in a state of flux. Everything changes, everything. Night changes into day and day into night. Winter becomes spring and spring becomes summer and summer becomes autumn. And the weather changes and your moods change and little babies become children and children become women and men. Everything changes, everything. Nothing remains static and the same. It all changes. And you and I will learn to be very successful in life if we understand the concept and go with the flow of the concept. Because it is a human tendency to stay fixed, to hang on, to hold on to, not to move, not to change, even when we know the changes are good for us. It's hard for us. We have to work ourselves up into the change and being okay with it, even though it's a good thing. Isn't it interesting? And yet our true nature is to all the time be in a state of flow, in a state of change, in a state of transforming ourselves into something more, into something more, into something more, into something more. Well, if we don't move, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. A beautiful way of illustrating this point is an ancient story, an old story, a parable. A parable is a story that has a deeper meaning to it. It has an extra meaning written into it. And so the story goes, once upon a time in a faraway land, there was an Asian king. And he was weighed down with the weight and the worries of the world, locally and globally. And he was harassed from every turn and twist. And he was finding it very, very hard going. So he called all his counselors and all the wise sages of the land to him, and he commissioned them. He tasked them with the responsibility of coming up with a magical phrase, magical words that would help him in these times of stress and strain. And furthermore, he said to them, these words must be short. They must be short enough to fit on a ring that I can wear and keep close to me, a ring that can be a reminder to me at all times that I can do this, that I can do this. And so they stood there nodding their heads. And then he said, and furthermore, these magical words must suit all occasions and be appropriate for everything. Everything, good, bad, and indifferent. In good times and bad times, these magic words must tell me that all is well. These words must bring to my mind peacefulness, must bring to my heart soothing balm, must bring to my body rest, no pressure, must be able to keep me in a state of equilibrium and balance and calm in the face of good times and in the face of bad times. So off they went into retreat spent many days in silence with each other, in conversation with each other, in prayer with each other, and eventually, they came back to the king and they said, Your Majesty, we have your magic words. We have your wondrous phrase. And the king's face lit up and he said, Tell me. And they said, And this too shall come to pass. And this too shall come to pass. Silence. Then the king's face lit up. He got it. He got it. He understood what these magical words were saying to him. Hang in there, hold tight, hold firm. Because everything that's happening in this now moment is transitory. It's flowing, it's passing, it will be no more. It will become part of a history and a past and what's behind. And you can get through everything when you know this. And the good times will not mesmerize you to the point that you want to cling on to them. And the hard times will not get you down to the extent that you think you cannot breathe and it's never going to change and it'll never be the same again and it'll never change. So the ring was made and it went on the finger, and that became the thing to live by the king and the people in the land. And this too shall pass. There's another very frequently used expression in the scriptures, and it is, and it came to pass, and it came to pass, and it came to pass. Well, usually we interpret that as, well, it happened, it came upon me, that which I fear the most has come upon me. It's happened, it has shown up in my life, here it is. But there's a whole different meaning that we could glean from that. Understand it the way that Eric Butterworth understands it in his book, The Flow of Life. And it came to pass, it came into my life to pass through my life, out of my life, and be done. It is a transitory thing, whether it's superb joy or superb sorrow. It is a transitory thing. It's come into my life to pass through my life, out from my life, because everything changes. All things come to an end in that sense, and they must for new things to take their place. And so for us this week, what we're going to be thinking about is that beautiful understanding and realization, and it came to pass. The challenge, the heartache, the sickness, the loss, the disappointment, and it came to pass, and it will, and it always does. Look at the good times you've had in your life. They came to pass. Look at the hardships you've had in your life. They came to pass. And it's an interesting thing that no matter what, we truck on. We truck on. We keep going. Somehow or another, we keep going. But we could do this with such grace and ease and such sovereignty and such an amazing sense of good coming out of everything if we truly were able to embrace and imbibe the meaning of those words. This too is passing. But what you and I are assisted with is the wisdom, non-attachment to persons, places, and things, and non-attachment to outcome. If you put the two together, you get it. And it requires the two together to get it. Because you and I are in the human habit of grasping and holding and clinging to whatever for far too long. For far too long. And it uses up our energy. It usurps our strength, all this clinging. And it keeps us tense, and it keeps us closed, and it keeps us in prison. Because once we're doing this, we're not free to hold on to anything else, or receive anything else, or give anything else. We're not free to release, and we're not free to receive when we do this. Klingons that we are. And so, my dear ones, this week we get to really look at how that is in our own lives, and how clingy we are, and how attached to outcome we are, and persons, places, and things. Because nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent on a three-dimensional planet Earth plane. Nothing is permanent. It all passes away. How many times do I hear parents, grandparents say, I wish they'd stay 4 years of age forever? Well, they won't. And they're not supposed to. And you wouldn't wish it either if you got your wish. You wouldn't. Change is inevitable, and it's the part and parcel of the makeup of what we are. And it's a good thing. It really is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And you and I will come into that realization to go with the flow of it and stop being clingy and move and move and move, because life is energy, and energy is movement, and movement is flow. And when we're not in that process, we are stagnating, and we are holding ourselves in and back. That's why in the scriptures it says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, no evil shall I fear. Walk is the operative word. Walk means movement. Walk means going forward. Walk in this sense understands that there is an opening at the end of the valley, just as there was an opening at the beginning of that shadowy old valley. There is an opening. You're not going to get to it if you don't keep walking. I like to take my running shoes into those valleys. I'm not interested in walking through them anymore. I want to sprint at least through them. Gallop at best. And the thing is, if you get stuck in the middle of the valley or anywhere in the valley, the only thing you can build with are the blocks that will build a bleak house. Blocks of disillusionment, of despair, distress, blocks of self-pity, blocks of moaning and groaning and bellyache. And the poet said, here where men sit and hear each other groan. Oh my, that's not the kind of life I want to live. Here where men sit and hear each other groan, moan, and bellyache. I don't think so. It was never meant for us. It was never meant to be. And you know, as much as we get into all of that, when we're finished with it, we don't feel good. We don't feel good. We feel like we've thrown up or something, and our stomachs are unsettled. That's how we feel. It's not as if we moan and groan and bellyache and berate and do all of that and say, oh, I feel so good now. That was great. Just needed a bout of that. I feel so much better now. I could take on the world. That's not how we feel when we're in the valley of the shadow of darkness at all. So we want to leave those building blocks aside and ignore them and keep moving, because when we build a bleak house and settle down in it, it encloses us and keeps us like this. And it's hard to get out of it again. It's like the little girl who was always afraid to go through dark tunnels. She could never face that. She would bury herself in her mother's lap until they came out through the other end of the tunnel. And then one day, of course, you know, children are very curious. In the tunnel for a little bit, she'd open a finger and kind of look up, and she'd see a little light at the end of the tunnel. And being a child and curious, oh, there's a light down there. I wonder what that light is. So the next time the fingers would open a little more, and eventually the head would just come up and look, and eventually she was sitting up, and eventually she got to really enjoy the tunnels. And when she was asked by her parents, you know, how come she wasn't afraid anymore, she said, well, I liked the light at the beginning and at the end of the tunnel. See, she could see that this was neat, because when she got to the end of the tunnel and you came out into this big, lighted, more wonderful experience, it was great. It was great. It was great. And you and I, to this very day, when we're going through a tunnel, maybe we're going up the mountains or something, we come out of a tunnel into that light The whole vista has changed, and it's amazing, and you go, wow. See? So you and I must keep going through the tunnel of our challenges, the tunnel of our negativity, and keep our eye on the light at the end of the tunnel and not be disturbed by all the shadowy, darky, whatever it is, moldy, dampy, whatever the tunnels are providing us with as an experience. Just keep your eye on the light at the end of, especially if you're driving the car. Keep your eye at the light at the end of the tunnel, and then when you come through it, go, oh. You see, you don't really appreciate the light until you've been in the dark. You really don't. You don't really appreciate the light until you've gone into the dark, and then when you come out of the dark, 2 times when you really appreciate light. And it's given to you and to me to be able to do that, because there's a honing thing within us that hones us in a way that makes us ready to be able to cope with anything that comes our way and to appreciate it all as contrasts. And we are living in the world of opposites. We're living in a dualistic world. And so you're always going to have those contrasts and those opposites. But if you and I know how to handle them, it makes all the difference in the world. And so we need to be able to be okay with whatever it is that's in front of us and know how to handle them. And we do know how to handle them. We really, really do. It is within us. We have an intuitive intelligence within us if we call upon it. If we call upon it, if we're available to it, if we're receptive to it, that will take us through any shadow, no matter how big, any valley, no matter how big, out into the light and a bigger, lighter, brighter experience as a consequence. If we keep in the flow of it, and we keep moving, and we keep knowing this too is passing away. This came into my life to pass through my life, out of my life, away from my life. And if I know it, if I believe it, if I have confidence in it, it's going to happen. And that's the key. Confidence and trust and faith in the light, being much more powerful than any shadow or any bout of darkness. The light much more powerful. And if my eye is stayed, on that which is greater than I am, we are told, then our whole body of affairs will be filled with light. Not just my body, but my body of affairs will be filled with light. And everything changes, and you and I can go with it or not. It's like the man that did something naughty, I'm not sure what it was some time back, but he got 5 years imprisonment for it. And he went in there hissing and kicking and screaming. He went in there bitter and resentful. He went in there hating everyone and everything, being belligerent and being a nuisance. And he did this over and over again, and even the prisoners who tried to be friendly with him, he just shunned. He was just so into a pity party. And then one day, somehow or another, a very exceptional prisoner sowed a seed in his mind and said to him, look here, you may as well use this time for good instead of resenting and being bitter and hating everything and everyone, hating the prisoners, hating the guards, hating the warden. It's not their fault you're here. And it doesn't matter whose fault it is that you're here. You're here. Why don't you spend your time doing something good? And if you spend your time doing something good, the time will pass very quickly. Well, he thought about it and thought about it and thought, and he took his cool time thinking about it too, and it took him quite some time to get it, and then he decided, okay. Because the fellow prisoner said to him, why don't you use this place like a college of education? Learn something, do something useful, get into something that's productive. And so eventually he went to the library, got into radionics. He was very interested in, he mending radios and things like that in the prison. And as he got into that, he got to really be taken by it. And then he studied it, and then he became very good at it. And when his 5 years were up, he was sorry to leave. He said, I can't go yet, I'm not finished my education. But they threw him out anyway. He had to go. See, even then he didn't want to change. And so he got out into the world and became one of the most leading experts in radionics as a result of that, you see. So it's attitude, always attitude. Attitude, attitude. How do I approach the valley? How do I approach the tunnel? It's my attitude. It's my attitude that's going to make it a good experience or not. And we may think, that our best days are our golden years, our best days are our present heydays. They are not. They're going to be past just as the day is over. Our best days are the adventures that are ahead of us tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Those are our best days. This is the platform for me to move into my best days, this day today. That's my platform. That's my springboard. I can spring off that into great tomorrows. And it doesn't matter what the acclaim I've received and so on. It doesn't matter what the failures have been in the past. They're all past, behind, history anymore. I mean, if you're going to choose to sit on on an observation deck and view your past and enjoy your heyday, you'll never, ever be able to move in the direction of your future good. It's impossible. And your future good may be the most amazing, incredible thing aligned, ready for you to enter into and to participate in and to appreciate. So what is it going to be, my dear ones? Moaning, groaning, and bellyache and complaining up and down the yin-yang every single day about this and that and the other that's not right. There's so much that's not right, but there's so much that is right. Where do you want to put your emphasis? On the light or on the shadows? Do you want to stay in the tunnel or do you want to come out into the light of the beautiful vista that awaits you? The choice is yours. The choice is mine. This too is passing. And I don't ever say this shall pass. I say this is passing. I always use the present tense. Not interested in the future. It hasn't come yet. And I'm not interested in the past. It's over. This is passing now. This has come to pass in my life. And I'm going to jolly well help it to pass. Even if I have to kick it a little bit up the rumpus to get there quicker. I am going to help that. But I am going to look at the shadows. I am going to look at the valleys. I am going to look at the negativity. And I am going to say, you know what? You've come to pass. And the reason why you've come to pass is there's no place here for you. There's no dwelling place for you. There is no vacancy. You do not have any power over me. None whatsoever. I will not own you, and I will not allow you to name me. You have no place here. Be on your way. No energy here. No sustenance here. No feeding here. Be on your way. Thank you for visiting me and reminding me that I am in charge of my own life. I appreciate it. Now, here's your hat. What's your hurry? On your way. And that can make all the difference in the way you live your life, in the way you feel in your life, in the way you do in your life, in the way you are about life and living. And it is so, so healing, so mending, so fixing a way to be in life and living. Attitude, attitude, attitude. Attitude all the time. This is interesting. It has shown up just to pay a slight visit and then it's on its way. Everything is passing. Everything is passing. Alone God sufficeth. That's what the great Saint Teresa of Avila said. Everything is passing. Alone God, good life sufficeth. Get in touch with that power and that presence within you. Keep in touch with that power and that presence within you. Stay connected with the power and the presence within you. And take that to whatever challenge comes your way. And it must fall down before you and dissipate itself. It cannot do otherwise than that. But if you take your own puny, wibbling, sniveling, little human egoic self to it, then trouble is upon us. Trouble. Trouble. Oh God, that's a horrible place to be in. I remember it well. Not nice. And it's not only nice not for you, it's not nice for anybody around you and about you either. Because when we're draggy, we drag everything around us down too. And when we're light of being, we lift everything up around us too. It's a beautiful thing, that. putting smiles on people's faces, painting smiles on people's faces. And as I was saying earlier this morning, you know, little things mean so much. I mean, I love being around children. They are just so in the moment. They are so awesomely curious. They are so awesomely wondrous. They are so naturally in praise of life and living. Ladybug on the finger, on the hand. Oh, my ladybug. And when that little ladybug opens its wings and flies off, oh, my goodness me. And when a butterfly lands on you, or a little child. Don't we feel blessed when a butterfly lands upon us? The awesomeness of it. This beautiful, delicate thing, trusting enough to land on you. What a blessing, what a joy. And yet, it's a butterfly. And when people and children land right where we are, it's the back of our hands to the most of the time. We don't care. I don't care who they are, what they are. Doesn't matter sometimes when I'm in a mood. Doesn't matter. I don't care who you are. Jesus himself, the Buddha, whoever it is, the Dalai Lama. I don't care. I don't care. The butterfly will break through all of that. Now, we are all butterflies. We're all in the process of transformation and becoming more of what it is that we are, moving more into ourselves. You can do it and I can do it, and the more we understand this too shall come to pass, this too is passing, and go with the flow of that, the more butterflies are going to land upon us and bless us, and the more we as butterflies will land upon persons, places, and things and bless them too. Wouldn't you love to have the lightness of being of a butterfly? I would. I certainly would. To feel light, to feel airy, to feel free. And it's yours for the knowing, yours for the allowing, yours for the receiving. And so it is.